Pope Francis is on a three-nation trip to Africa, where he is seeking to heal divisions between Christians and Muslims. The visit also poses a major security challenges, with millions are expected to turn out for public celebrations of Mass, presenting a major challenge for national security forces. I-24 News correspondent Ayman Siksik has the story.
The heavy rains in Nairobi did not deter tens of thousands of Kenyans who gathered for a first-of-its-kind open-air mass held by Pope Francis. It's the pontiff's first visit to Africa, and it follows a series of painful attacks within the vast continent. On his first stop of a planned tour, he told the faithful in Nairobi that radicalization in the name of religion is a threat to society. Remarkable words from a man of God. The responsibility to change this course of events, he said, lies with society's younger members.
I know the barbarous attacks on Westgate Mall, Garissa University College and Mandera are fresh in your minds. All too often, young people are being radicalized in the name of religion, to sow discord and fear, and to tear at the very fabric of our societies. How important it is that we be seen as prophets of peace.
Kenya has seen a series of attacks by Al-Shabaab militants in recent years, prompting fears for the Pope's safety before his arrival. The pontiff will continue on to Uganda, also the scene of religious persecution by Islamist insurgents. But he brushed off security concerns before boarding the flight. Indeed, a visit to Africa was due for the Pope, with a third of Kenya's 45 million people observing Catholicism. The number of African Catholics is expected to reach 500 million by 2050, a fertile ground for Christianity to invest in.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, peace with you.
Meanwhile, another meaningful trip by a religious official is taking place on Thursday to the Middle East. Egypt's Coptic Pope Tawadros II left for Jerusalem for the funeral of the head of the Coptic Church in Israel. This would be the first visit by the head of Coptic Christians in decades. Egyptian Copts were forbidden from visiting Israel by their previous pope, who passed away in 2012. Much like Pope Francis, Tawadros II seems inclined on introducing change, albeit slowly. The Coptic Church, however, is playing down any political significance to this trip.
Yes, and with me here in the studios, Ayman Siksik. Good evening. Thank you very much for being here with me. But on the phone, we have also Wadia Abu Nassar, advisor to churches in Jerusalem. Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good evening. My pleasure.
So, Mr. Abu Nassar, let's try to think what is standing behind this special, let's say, special visit in Jerusalem by the Pope coming from the Coptic sector.
Well, of course, publicly and officially, the Pope Tawadros had very close relations with the late Archbishop of Jerusalem, Anba Abraham, who passed away yesterday. And he had really very strong personal relations, and he wanted to be the one who would pray for his soul during the funeral. Although that, no doubt that also Pope Tawadros have been receiving different invitations from the Palestinian leadership to pay a visit to Jerusalem and to encourage pilgrimages to Jerusalem, at the argument that such kind of pilgrimage would be helpful to the Palestinian community in Jerusalem. So I believe that the visit is a kind of historic visit by all means, but also has mainly spiritual significance, because as far as I understood, the Pope is also used the opportunity to pay pilgrimage to the holy places in the Holy City. So
let's try to understand a little bit more, because we know that the Coptic community in Egypt passed very hard times during the Arab Spring, and they were persecuted. If we want to talk about the community right now, how many people are living in Israel, how many people are living in Egypt, and what is, except the pilgrimage that you're talking about, why now? Why to come now and not 6 months ago, not a year ago or 2 years ago?
Well, first of all, there is a fact that now is the the Pope is coming to the funeral of Anba Abraham. So, and we do hope that his visit would inspire better relations amongst the inhabitants of the Holy Land, especially amidst current contemporary wave of violence. Now, we do believe that the Copts in Egypt are integral part of the society in Egypt. There were some problems facing this community. However, the President Sisi made a historical visit last year when he visited the church during the Christmas Eve Mass. And it was very welcome heartedly by the Coptic leadership. Now, in Israel, the Copts are quite few. You know, they are mainly in East Jerusalem and partially in Bethlehem.
Yes. Wadia Abu Nassar, thank you very, very much for this phone call. And right now, here with me, Ayman Siksik again. Thank you for joining me. The Pope in Africa. It's another message coming from Pope Francis to the world, trying to bridge the gaps between Christians, Muslims, and Jewish. This time, it's in a really, really problematic, let's say, arena of the world, third world countries. And it seems that some people are a little bit skeptical about this.
Yes, it is a controversial visit in many ways, not only for security reasons, but because he was addressing his believers and saying that the extremism in Africa, the attacks based on religious conflict is not the way of religion. But we have to remember he was speaking to Catholic Christians who are his followers. Now, in Africa, it's the only country in the world where there are almost equal numbers of Christians and Muslims living together. Huge numbers, 500 million Christians and 400 million Muslims, but they're separated in the very, almost in the very middle of Africa. So Islam dominates the north, while Christianity dominates the south and the inner section of Africa. And section in between is where all the religious extremism and conflicts happen. So he's talking to a nation almost literally divided in between the two religions.
So, you know, we're talking about this for a long time, but, you know, Pope Francis is very well known with his liberal views and openness to the world and to other religions. So I kind of don't understand a little bit the skepticism about his current visit.
Well, a lot of people are trying to subdue the religious conflicts in Africa. There's a vast claim or a campaign to bring atheism to Africa, and this has been going on for years. But however, Christians and Muslims in Africa keep growing in numbers. He is there to bridge these divides, and that really does also relate to the Coptic Pope's visit here in Israel, which is not only for religious reasons. There is a political meaning to this visit. It's not for nothing that the previous Pope in that very position was given the orders that to the Coptics that they are forbidden to come here. That really mirrors the complicated relationship between Egypt and Israel despite the peace treaty. This Pope may be a little bit more pragmatic politically.
Yeah, we saw him shaking hands with Abdel Fattah al-Sisi in your report. Maybe it's the beginning of a new era.
Who knows?
Yes. Ayman Siksik, thank you very much for
Thank you, Lucy.